Did you know you could finally step into your higher self and completely let go of fear, self doubt, and overthinking? By creating an alter ego, you will unlock a version of yourself you didn't even know existed. You unlock that core version of you. This will help you build confidence, take risks, and make you like unstoppable. So if you're ready to level up, keep listening. Hi everyone, it's Princess. Welcome or welcome back to my podcast. In this episode, I want to talk about something that I learned like over 2 years ago, which is wild to me, but it's about alter ego and it's about creating or even just allowing yourself to exist in a version of you that is like your most authentic self without any barriers. So I like to think of myself as like a princess 2.0, but I'm like getting ahead of myself here. Why I like creating an alter ego or why I like this idea of creating an alter ego is because normally when we want to make changes in our life, we normally go from the outside in. So we say, okay, when I finally become consistent, then I can identify as a consistent person. Or when I finally start eating healthy, then I can say, okay, I'm a healthy person. But what an alter ego, the whole vibe of an alter ego is like you are saying who you want to be. And then when you're faced with any situation, for example, eating healthy, when you're faced with a chocolate or like a fruit salad or like whatever healthy is to you, you know that you're a healthy person already. So what does a healthy person do? The healthy person gravitates towards the fruit salad basically. So we don't have to wait for when we finally build the healthy habits to finally identify as a healthy person. We should first identify as a healthy person and then and then naturally we will do healthy people habits. Because I always when I'm speaking to one of my friends, she's always like, oh, you're so smart, and I'm like, I don't really think I'm smart. Like I don't really go about saying, oh, like I don't really think like it's an innate thing. I just feel like, yes, I want to perform as good as a smart person would perform. So I just do what smart people do. And what the smart people do, they like put in the effort and they put in the work and things like that. And that is when I realized, oh, I've been living in my alter ego because me, like on my worst day, I wouldn't think I'm like this like high version of myself. But when I want to like do some certain things, I would always see myself as a higher, perfect, unlimited, no self doubt, no insecurity version of myself. So if you don't already know what an alter ego is, it's just you basically, but with all the qualities that you truly want and with all the qualities that truly inspire you. For example, I want to start creating podcast content. I want to be consistent. So my alter ego, which I will call like Princess 2.0, Princess 2.0 is not shy on camera. Princess 2.0 doesn't hate how her voice sounds. Princess 2.0 loves editing. She loves watching herself back after recording. So Princess 2.0 has all the qualities that I really find inspiring. And if Princess is overthinking a situation or a scenario, she can just step into Princess 2.0. For example, before I turned on this camera, I was like feeling, oh my god, it has been so long, blah 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 blah, and I've not been consistent. This time that I try again, am I going to be consistent? But you know what? That's not what Princess 2.0 is thinking about. Princess 2.0 is like, you know what? Yes, I fell off last year, but this is a new year. This is a new time for me to be who I want to be. This is a new time for me to finally be consistent. Like Princess 2.0 is excited to finally get back into recording podcasts. So Princess 2.0 is acting with boldness. She's unstoppable. She's fearless. And you might feel like, okay, well, are you not like showing up as fake? Like me on this podcast now, I feel I'm a bit more bold and a bit more confident than I normally would, even though I'm like still getting there and I'm still working on it. But it's not me being fake, and this is like truly who I am at my core. Because if we notice, we show up as different people when we are with our family members, or when we're with our, like our closest friends, or when we are with strangers. So when you say like, oh, I'm a bit shy until I'm finally comfortable around them, or I'm a bit shy until I meet those closest people to me. So are you a shy person, or are you like an outgoing, confident person? Which one are you? So you are an outgoing, confident person when you don't feel insecure, because when you're with a stranger, you don't know their perception of you yet, so you're just trying to keep it cool. That's why we tend to be shy when we are with strangers. But when we are with our closest friends, we can show up as who we are naturally. We can tell those jokes. We can just be who we are. You won't identify yourself as a shy person because who you are at your core is someone who tells jokes, someone who laughs very loud. So if we can show up differently in different situations, when you're faced with a challenge, when you're faced with a task, you can also choose to show up differently. For example, when I meet a stranger, I'm definitely not like a talkative or anything, but when I'm with my family members, when I'm with my sister, when I'm with my close friends, I'm literally like talking non-stop. So if I can bring out the talkative in me when I'm with my family members, then when I'm recording a podcast, when I'm trying to do something academic, when I'm working on my project, I can also bring out that like unstoppable side of me. I can also bring out that side of me that isn't crippled by fear. So you having this alter ego is just you being much more intentional about how you're showing up in different scenarios of life. So with this, you're allowing yourself, you're giving yourself permission to show up how you want to show up. You can easily distance yourself from negative thoughts and fear because why? Your alter ego has no negative thoughts. Princess 2.0 feels like people would love to watch her videos. Princess 2.0 is confident in the content that she makes. Meanwhile, Princess, on the other hand, well, I'm not ridiculing Princess, but we know Princess still has some work to do. But instead of waiting for Princess to finally like get over her fear and everything, I can just switch into Princess 2.0 and get work done and get stuff done. So your alter ego should also have those characteristics that you truly, truly value. You don't have to be someone else that you don't value. For example, I'm not going to do things on camera that I don't feel is necessary or I don't feel is comfortable for me. I'm only doing things that my higher self will do, and I'm just using Princess 2.0 because you have to create a name for your alter ego. And I don't know if this is from the book, but there was a study they did which is called the Batman effect. Divided kids into 3 different groups, and they told them to like get something from a locked glass, like a glass box, and then they told one group, okay, behave like you're Batman and try to see if you can get this thing from the locked glass box. And then the second group was like, you know what, just do it as yourself. And then the third group, they were like, just be anybody, just pretend like you're not yourself. And obviously the group that performed best was the group that pretended like they were Batman. Why? Because they were like, okay, I'm sure Batman would be like, he would think of creative ways to get things out of this box. He would not give up easily. He would like he's confident. He's Batman. Like, come on. But those people that felt like that, pretended like they were themselves, or those people that did like they were themselves, that acted from their own self, they were like, normally I would give up. Normally when things get hard, I would give up. And those people that pretended not to be themselves, they worked hard for a bit, but they still gave up because they don't know who, like, they didn't create a strong persona of who they are and what this person actually does. So when you're creating your alter ego, you need to have like a very strong perception of who this person is. You need to have a strong definition of who this person is. What does she value? What does she like? What will she do in certain scenarios? How does she feel about herself? And another reason why I love the alter ego effect is because it pulls you out of your comfort zone. Because there are times where we want to change, we want to do better, we want to be better, and there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I'm on that same boat with you. And you realize, well, I've been trying to like make this change in my life. I've been trying to do this hard thing in my life, but I just can't get it done. Why is that? Because you're still viewing yourself from this low point of view. You have this weak self-image. So when you act as if like you already have all these things done, you'll be able to tap into those potentials that is already there. For example, a year ago me would have never like turned on a camera because, like I said, I did like faceless, like just audio versions of the podcast, and that was even the main reason why I decided to start a podcast, not like a YouTube channel, because it could just be audio. Like, that was my comfort zone. But then even like the audio, like, we're growing we're growing up from there. But I started from just doing audio podcasts, and at that time it was me exposing myself a little bit, but I got so comfortable with doing that, so I have to keep on exposing myself. And the first day that I turned on the camera, I wouldn't say I have done like the inner work or like become so much more confident. You don't have to do all those inner work. You just have to keep on showing up as your alter ego, and then eventually everything will fall in place. In the book, The Alter Ego Effect, he writes about Beyonce, and let me tell you the story of Beyonce in case you don't know. We all know Beyonce, we all love Beyonce. So at the beginning of her career, like before she became Beyonce, she grew up in the church. She was singing. She always had a beautiful voice, but she was singing in like churches, like in the church choir and everything. And obviously for her to transition from singing in the church choir to transition into the Beyonce we have now, that's a that's a very big gap to transition to, because in church you're like more modest, more calm, sing, but like on stage you have to be like fierce. You have to be like, you just have to be that girl. And for her to show up as Beyonce that we all know now, she had to step into a different persona of herself, which she calls Sasha Fierce. So Sasha Fierce is not that girl who grew up in the church and who is like quiet, singing, shy, just singing for adults basically. But Sasha Fierce now is someone who can stand in the stage in front of thousands, if not millions of people, singing, and is confident and is like doing all this like fierce dance moves and everything. And then later on, she goes on to say about how after a long time or after a while, she didn't need to step into Sasha Fierce anymore, because Beyonce and Sasha Fierce kind of became one. So she is Sasha Fierce. She doesn't need that character anymore because she has embodied all the characters of this. So eventually, when you keep using your alter ego, when you keep stepping into your alter ego when you need to, eventually you won't even have to break character, or you won't even have to like go back to who you were. So for example, if you need your alter ego in school, let's say you're taking some really really hard courses and you really find it hard to study, because this is a personal example of mine. You really find it hard to study because you're just scared and you just feel like you will fail and everything. Create an alter ego. Your alter ego is not scared of failing. Your alter ego is bold when studying. Your alter ego is not shy. Your alter ego doesn't have these limiting beliefs or negative thoughts about herself and everything. So create this alter ego, and then that will help you to be able to show up as who you are, because deep down, like, there's a giant hidden within. And I read a book about like the giant hidden in me, and it was just so groundbreaking, because it's like, because of our experiences, we've learned to lock up that giant like far far away, because we don't want to be disappointed, right? So you creating an alter ego is you just unlocking that giant and letting her flourish. So you're allowing yourself bloom. If you're struggling to create new habits or change lifestyle or have lifestyle changes, you should create an alter ego, because your self-perception and self-image is what shapes your life. So if you're trying to reinvent yourself, if you're trying to create new habits, why it seems so difficult is because you're still viewing yourself from the old you. You're still viewing yourself as someone who doesn't and can't get all these things. So how can you create an alter ego? The book The Alter Ego Effect really like goes in depth. Like, you need to get a pen and paper for that. But just like a little summary of how I created my own alter ego. And what I did was I got a pen and paper, of course, because everything is better on pen and paper. So I got a pen and paper and I wrote down every single thing in my higher self. So just imagine your higher self basically, because you're already your higher self. It's just hidden away. So write down every characteristic, everything that she is. Is she consistent? Is she confident? Definitely she's consistent, she's confident. So write them down in like present tense, and most especially know what you're creating this alter ego for. And personally, I created this alter ego mainly for this podcast, because I wanted to be like much more confident than I normally am in my everyday life. And then you also need to figure out what you're struggling with, because you need to figure out what you need. Like, you need to know your current self and your highest self, which is your alter ego. And then think, how would my alter ego act in a specific situation? What would she do? Like, normally we would like for Christians now, we always say, what would Jesus do? Because we want to emulate the life of Jesus. So for example, in your hard situation, when you're facing a challenge, just ask yourself, what would your alter ego's name do? So I asked myself, what would Princess 2.0 do? Because today, like less than an hour ago, I was literally getting back in bed, like putting on my favorite show just to watch and relax for the whole day, because something went wrong. But I'm like, you know what? Princess 2.0 won't do this. Princess 2.0 would shake it off, and Princess 2.0 would turn on her camera and turn on the microphone and just get at it, honestly. And if you don't really know what your alter ego is, you can look at the people that truly, truly inspire you. That is always a sign, or that has always been a sign for me. When someone inspires me so, so, so much, I just like want to be like them. I want to like have some qualities that they have. So if you're struggling to figure out what your alter ego might be, Who inspires you? Who do you just watch and you're like, yeah, like there are a lot of people that I watch and I'm like, you know what, they're doing something right in their life. And you can give a name to your alter ego, but whatever it is, you have to have an emotional connection with it because you don't want it to feel like a stranger to you. You don't want it to feel like you're stepping into someone that you're not. So have an emotional connection with this. You can even give a backstory. The things that we see in people, I read it somewhere. The things that we see in people, the things that we admire most in people, we can see those things and admire them because is in us. It's like hidden down somewhere in us. So that like is a sign. What you love most about someone could be something that you really want to have. Like I even goes to say like what you love most about like your partner or your close friend is something that you wish you had. And if you wish you had it, then it's there. You just have to allow yourself to bring it out and give yourself permission to bring that version of you out. Basically, an alter ego is the realest version of you without limitations. So today, give yourself permission to take off every limited thoughts that you have of yourself, every like low self-image, every skewed self-image or self-perception, and just allow yourself to bloom and thrive the way you want to, because you choose your life. You can't allow past experiences define how you make moves in the present. So this is all I have for today's episode. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below what you really took from this video, and comment down blue or purple emojis if you reach the end, because I want to know if anybody actually reaches the end of the video. And I'll see you in my next week's episode.